Welcome to Connect Vegas, a podcast that interviews the leaders and creators who build our community. The people who make Las Vegas into the best place to live, work, and visit. And now, here is our host, Ben.
Hi, and welcome to the next episode of the Connect Vegas podcast. My name is Ben Laifsky, and I'm here to introduce a conversation with my friend Sean Gigremosa. I got to know Sean about 2.5 years ago. We ran into each other at just a number of different tech events and found we had a lot of common interests. Sean is a tenured product manager. He spent nearly 20 years with Rolls-Royce. He's been in technology for decades. He has a passion for the tech and for creating things that's just infectious. And he's here to talk about his AI startup, which is called Claritiv, which helps maximize sales interactions. And I'm not even going to try and do it justice because this conversation goes deep into what Claritiv is, the process of bringing it to market, and his perspectives on industry and tech in general. I really enjoy spending time with Sean, and I know you'll enjoy this conversation as well. Thank you. Hi, and welcome back to the Connect Vegas podcast. I'm Ben, and I'm here with Sean. Sean, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. As I mentioned, my name is Sean Gigremosa. I'm the founder of Claritiv, which is a conversational intelligence platform serving the trade show conference market here in Las Vegas and throughout the world.
Who would you describe as a typical client of yours?
I would say we've evolved over time. I think that's how most startups are, right? And hopefully this will answer your question. When we started our journey a couple of years ago, like our ideal client was like product managers or product development. And the main reason for that is that was who I was. Like I was in product development for about 30 years. I understand the problem. I understand the challenges of communication and conversations and being able to write proper requirements. So that was initially who we wanted to target. Over time, we've learned, we pivoted to focus on salespeople. And because, again, we've learned that salespeople have a lot of conversations. And more often than not, they're not so good at documenting those conversations and really capturing the proper context that they need to capture from those conversations. And more recently, actually, like you were actually one of the first triggers that, made us pivot to this when you guys launched, I think it was a Conference Vegas. Is it Conference Vegas?
Convention Solutions.
Yeah, Convention Solutions over at Tech Alley. I was like, hey, we have this. I just need to do that. These people at conferences and conventions, the main problem that they have, like the biggest problem that they have is context from conversations. To be able to understand, hey, like I talked to hundreds of people at trade show, and I don't remember any of those conversations. Like at the end of the day, I get like a stack of business cards with little to no context, like for each one and how I'm supposed to follow up. So what ends up is that, hey, we met at the show. Here is who we are again. Very cold, like very centered towards the exhibitor and not necessarily centered towards the prospect. Circling back to answer your question, that's who our current ideal customer are: exhibitors for trade shows that want to actually get more than just business cards, just leads, but really understanding like what matters for each of the folks that are visiting their booth at conferences and trade shows.
I think that's a great way to describe like the problem that's out there. And of course, these companies spend so much money to be a part of those shows and time, just it's so intensive. And you want to make sure you're getting as much out of that as possible and not sending generic follow-ups. But can you describe exactly like the nuts and bolts of what Claritiv does along the way?
Yeah, no, for sure. The main part, or I guess like the initial part, is how do we actually capture the conversation? All right. That's where we have this. It's our kind of like capture device. You wear it like a lanyard. There's a little thing here where you can actually put your badge as well. So you're not wearing multiple badges. And this automatically records your conversation. It has noise reduction and voice triggers. So once it actually hears of you talking to a person, then it will start recording from the device. Like how the service works is we will have a team at the event or at the convention where they will, towards the end of the day, get the devices from you and make sure they're charged, because it's a full white glove experience for us. Make sure it's charged. And we take that information that's on the device and puts it into our Claritiv platform. Our Claritiv platform then does the analysis. How many people did you talk to? Who did you talk to? What did they say? What questions did they have? What pains did they mention? What are the outcomes that they actually, why did they go to the conventions? What do they want to get out of it? And we do that for each person, because each person, we have a pretty complex, I want to say internally, voice identity. So we can actually separate by the person's voice. Oh, you're talking to, this is a different person. This is a different person. And our platform is smart enough that if they mention, oh, hey, I'm Sean, they say, okay, this person is Sean. So it will tag the proper details already inside the platform. So as long as, and I'm sure most salespeople are, as long as you're good at talking and getting people to engage and asking the right questions, like their name or their company, those are really the only two things. Everything else is handled by the platform. What company do they work for? What are they looking at the convention? And we have all of these other data points as well, like sentiment data, contribution data. And again, more technically, we have an agent-to-agent architecture where based out of the input, the conversational input, it can then spread out. Okay, you mentioned this company. Let me pull some information about that company based out of web search. You mentioned this. Let me pull some information about that. And because it's a white glove approach, even before the event, we would then like work with each exhibitor, say, hey, tell us about your company, tell us about your products, tell us about your services, so that the output from Claritiv talks your language, your products, your services. So again, the idea is the follow-ups become real, becomes personalized, becomes relevant, with the sales aspiration of you being able to close faster from the leads that you're capturing from those shows. You mentioned exhibitors spend $10, $15, $20,000 per show, which may or may not necessarily include travel, meals, hotels. Yeah.
Well, you could 10x that with some of the crazy booth designs.
Boot designs.
Like it's a military scale operation. Load in and to bring all that to the convention center or to one of our convention centers.
For sure. I met in one of the shows here in Vegas, I met this one exhibitor, and she said that because of like the expenses of travel, they just purchased the equipment, let's say a television, at that local place. And then they basically do their demos and they showcase it. And then towards the end, just so that they don't have to worry about bringing that, they give it away. Hey, do you want a TV? Are you local? Here, you can have it. But in the end, like, what do you get out of it? Get a list of very cold name, email address, phone numbers, and what do you call it? Company name. Without context, without real context.
Does Claritiv also help these companies understand who's doing a better job? And
No, for sure. And that's part of the insights that we can provide, right? Because I'm sure, like with companies, they said maybe 5 people, maybe 10 people. Like, what if 2 of those folks are just like hanging out and not really talking to people? We can capture that insight. Okay, Joe spoke to 35 people. These are the companies that he spoke to. These are the conversations that he had. And then this is how, and we can even analyze the exhibitor. This is how he performed. He was good. He had great product knowledge. He had great engagement. And we can even recommend to make Joe better. Here are some recommendations on what he can do or what she can do to be even better. Because that's part of the service is after each day or the beginning of the next day, we will provide a report. So here's how you guys performed yesterday, and here's how you can improve. And then towards the end of the show, there's like a full report of like companies you talk to, people you talk to, summaries, and so on and so forth.
Let's talk about the underlying technology and the way that you put this together. I think people are more interested in the details of some of these platforms and these services than I think at any other time in history. We are all using all these tools. Talk about what it is that you use to build Claritiv.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think to build a solution like ours, it's never just like one technology, right? So yeah, we're using LLMs and NLPs for the kind of like initial conversational analysis. We're also using another model for video indexing and sentiment analysis based out of tonality, voice tonality. Is it positive? Is it negative? We have a model for theme detection, aggregation and synthesis to model to build a knowledge graph or a knowledge base out of the things that you talked about. And we have an aggregation, again, model that puts it all together.
Which, like you said, the LLMs, which are the large language models. Then you said the NLPs.
Yep.
Can you define that for us?
Yes, like natural. So LLMs, it's pretty much, I would say, linked to an NLP, right? So that natural language processing. It's being able to take natural language and make sense out of it.
How much of this is taking all these different things off the shelf in the metaphor, and how much of it is using them as starting points and is combined a unique and one-of-a-kind way in Claritiv?
There's definitely parts that are off the shelf. For example, there's a startup called Kolank, Kolank, I think they're in the Bay Area. And what they do is they provide or give access to all of these different models, right? Like your OpenAI, your Anthropic, your DeepSeek, or even like the open source models like Llama, Mistral, or all of these other things. Multimodal as well, like not text, video, audio, images. So Kolank opens that up for us because in the end, as a solution provider that uses multiple things, I can be assured that whatever the latest model right now will be the latest model in 6 months, a year. At least for me, we need to be scalable in the sense that, okay, if let's just say in a year, Anthropic's Claude is the best of the best, and OpenAI, although it's just pretty much just went under. You don't know what's going to happen. And if we build just for one kind of like model, then it is like the transition is going to take longer. So by using Kolank, then we can say, okay, we're done with that. Let's do this. Because what it can do is, okay, we have these like prompts. Does it make sense? Or let me check the output, confirm the output from all of these different open source or other sources. So that's one. There's definitely part that's using what's already there. Because one, I don't want to build an LLM myself, at least not right now. As a startup, you have to use the services that's available. And there's resources or services that's available in Azure, in AWS for certain things. It's understanding, like, hey, for transcription, you use this service. For sentiment analysis, there's this open model that you can then install within your architecture. So it's a whole bunch of understanding these things that's off the shelf, and you can put it together with additional things that we built ourselves, like the aggregation and theme modeling. And that's for us, that's our, I guess, our secret sauce, I guess, on how everything works is, okay, how do we put it all together? What is the, what is the important thing for us? It is that aggregation. It is that synthesis, because it's not about living in a silo. It's about your conversation across multiple conversations and understanding the flow of it over time.
All right. Thank you for taking us through that. That's very helpful. Want to go back to get a little bit of your background? Can you tell us like where you grew up and some of the things you were interested in when you were a young person?
No, for sure. I was born in the Philippines, actually in Davao City in the Philippines. And growing up, I've always loved computers. And I've always liked that was like the thing back, you know, I'm aging myself, but you probably feel this like back in the 80s, early to mid 80s. I was like just playing around and taking things apart and putting things back together. As I was growing up, like that kind of like software and like development always attracted me. And I moved to the US when I was young, lived in New Jersey for a while. Most of my youth was in Texas, in Houston. And that's really where like that love for anything digital really sprouted, right? I got into web development and then from Texas moved to California. My first job was actually as an intern for the city of Torrance in LA, excuse me, and building like part of their website. And then from that, I started like again worked as a web developer for, and you might, I don't think they have it anymore, but the TV show Cops. Like so I did that. So, and that's like where I grew. And then from product development, switch into product management, worked for big companies, worked for Rolls-Royce, lived in Europe for a few years while I was working for Rolls. And then COVID happened. They were like, okay, I guess it's time to come back home. And there was no place to go because there's only two airports that was open. I think it was DC and San Francisco. They wanted us, not even DC, like they wanted us to move to Virginia. Rolls wanted us to move to Virginia. And I was like, I don't know anybody, or I can't, like, I couldn't just travel and say, okay, we need to find a place so that when we actually move, then we have that already. I couldn't do that because of COVID. And surprisingly enough, my parents has a property here in Vegas. And so I told my bosses, like, hey, why don't we just go to Vegas. I'll stay there for about a year. And then like once everything like calms down and the world doesn't go crazy, then we can move to Virginia or Maryland. And yeah, so they agreed to that. We did that, so moved to here and got stuck. We just pretty much stayed. Yeah. And yeah, here we are now. I've since moved on from roles, went to a different company and then founded Claritiv a couple years ago.
All right. Let's see. When a client comes to Claritiv, you've described it as a white glove service. And I imagine that's very important because especially in the trade shows, they don't have room for one more thing to do, I'm sure. But can you describe your approach or philosophy to working with clients?
Not my whole thing. I think I have a very contrarian approach to providing service. And I always think that like service, it needs that person touch, that human touch, especially at trade shows, especially for these types of events, because you're right. You just mentioned it. If I have a, like this solution, this technology, and then we'll give you an app and then good luck. Here's a how-to guide and what to do, set up your own accounts, things like that. And like happy hunting or whatever. It's almost very cold. I'm big on I think the term, and I forgot there's a book, extreme hospitality, where and I think that stemmed off the restaurant like industry, right? One of the folks in my team, one of the persons in my team actually brought that into me. And I really love that philosophy of extreme hospitality, where you go not just above and beyond, but you go even past that to make sure that the customer like really enjoys the experience. And for us, it's before even the event started, it's understanding like, okay, understanding your business. We're not just giving you an app and then again, like that, and we don't really care about you and your business. So we would take the time to understand your business, understand your products, understand your services, then take that information and put into the platform. So as I mentioned, so the conversation, the output that you get is relevant and resonates and uses your language, right? And then that then goes like whilst in the event, still also have a team in place that can help guide. Hey, this is how you use this is like that helps train you as well. Ask these types of questions. There's only two main questions that we want at least to make a better output is ask for their name and ask for their company's name, because that will help categorize and tag the person that you talk to. Anything else, just be engaging, right? Like a proper salesperson. Ask questions, because the more they do that, the better the output will be. And it's us being there to, again, guide. If they have questions, like, is this working? Is this, so we're there on hand to help. And like, again, towards the end of the day, we'll take the devices, because the devices it's just like a microphone. You don't buy a microphone for the service. We'll provide those for the service. And then we'll take it at the end of the day, we'll charge it, we'll take the files and when we put it into the platform, and then have a team that will then generate the reports that we can then provide to the exhibitor for daily and towards the end of the day. And we even have an additional layer of service, a more like a higher level than even that approach. Like that starts talking about the whole sales process, negotiations, pre-bookings, like full on like guidance in being able to help like these exhibitors really perform better and close more and close faster.
It's funny, when I've worked in a scenario like that, my whole system was I have one pocket for the people I really want to follow up with, and another pocket for everybody else that I also need to follow up with, but is less urgent. This is an order of magnitude better than that.
To me, because we've exhibited like a few times over the last couple of years, and that was always the problem. I've heard from exhibitors, sometimes they're complaining, oh, well, yeah, this show isn't really that good. There's not really a lot of people that came. There's not enough attendees, not enough foot traffic. But you've still had like 25, 30, 40, 50 conversations. So what if out of those 50, you're able to close 10%, 15%, 20%? If the ticket sizes are in the like tens of thousands of dollars, even like maybe that small amount that you're able to actually enrich with great contextual data from all of those conversations, it's not a left pocket, right pocket problem. It's okay, this is what I have. Maybe I'll start with this one because Claritiv tells the engagement within Claritiv is really high and it was prioritized high, but it doesn't stop you from still having context for your left pocket business cards that still could be very valuable.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the workings of a startup in your experience. Starting with, we had some really fun conversations before you settled on the name Claritiv. And can you talk about like the process of branding your startup?
For Claritiv, the process of branding was the easiest way I can explain it is a journey, because even the name evolved over time. When we first launched, and I still have it as my email, we called it like it was Scribe, and I couldn't just choose Scribe as a name because Scribe is such a common name, so I had to be like very unique. So how can I be very unique? So we were like, okay, let's spell it differently just so that it can be unique. So we spelled our scribe Skryb. And then we learned, like, oh, so but every time I show it to people, it's, oh, what's Skyribe? What's Sky or what's Scrib? So that, but part of it, I think, in a lot of the insights also come from my conversations with you, is that it doesn't really represent the value that we, provide. Like, what is the aspiration, right, that you want to have that's can easily be, I would say, understood by that name. And I'm also a big proponent of not being too descriptive, like in your name, and too long, but something that's one word that is easy to understand, that may have a little bit of uniqueness and a dash of curiosity, right? So for example, like Google, these ones. So like so we basically, I think 3 or 4 months and a year and a half ago, we went through that exercise with my team and identify, like, what is the value? What is that we want to represent? What is the identity of the brand? What do we want our customers to feel when they use our product? And like, we did a whole kind of like exercise, putting words on the digital Miro board, for example. And we ended up with clarity. Of course, from a IP or a kind of like trademark perspective, it's very hard to trademark a singular word that is so common in the dictionary language. Like, we went through that exercise of, okay, clarity, and then what? Then we were like, okay, clarity and productive. So we've combined that to become Claritiv without the E. I don't know why, to be honest. Like, if somebody asked, like, why did you spell it like that? I don't know why I took out the E, but it's just like, maybe I just wanted to have a consonant as my last, or maybe it's because when I was young, is it V? The TV show V? Was it
Yeah, there was a alien show, right?
Alien V? Yeah, so maybe that was it. I don't know. Like, we went to that and then ended up with that name. And it's like it really pushes the value and the vision that we want our users to have, is that clarity.
Well, plus there's also the very practical matter of you have to find available website names, and there's so much stuff that's just been snapped up by either brands or squatters these days. It's very difficult.
It is. Right. And that's why you have to like miss and mash this just to make it so unique that you get the .com domain. Even like Claritiv.com, like, is owned by like some other company. I think they were like a healthcare something company, I think. But because we're an AI company and it was available, so it was like, so Claritiv.ai made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not naming drugs for popular use. That just syllables together at this point. Let's move on to, you are raising funds for your startup. Maybe you could talk about the process of coming up with a valuation and what you're going through, or what that process looks like in the fundraising.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the biggest thing for me, and to be honest, I'm still learning. So it's still going to be a journey. The biggest thing for me is valuations is still a very, I want to say, alien approach. Meaning, I don't know. And I don't know because it's all guesses at this point, right? Being such an early stage, you can look at, okay, these other startups are similar to us. So maybe we can evaluate, or this is how much revenue we think we're going to have in so-and-so year. And like, maybe that's how we evaluate. So to me, I think it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because most of the time it's guesses, right? Especially in this position we are right now. So I think what for us, it's literally like, we're going to do a priced round in a future raise. And so we don't necessarily worry too much about our current valuation because it's a guess, but we can definitely figure that out in a future round. But for this one, it would just be like, let's say, a safe agreement that at least makes the most sense for us and probably makes the most sense for an investor as well. The one thing that's going for us, because over the last couple of years, I've always said, we're raising, but we're not really raising. Like, I'm talking to people, but I'm not really raising because we're still like in that problem, solution fit, product, market fit. Even in this conversation, right? Like, we pivoted so many times just to try to understand and solve the biggest problem for a market. But because we've identified that, and because we've actually signed a couple contracts like for major shows locally as well as internationally, now we're like, okay, like, we got something. Now we can actually actively seek funding. So because our next big show is going to be a trade show in London, 600 or so exhibitors, thousands of attendees. Our race is going to be like, hey, give us money so that we can keep going. It's going to be, hey, we're raising because we have this signed contracts that we have to fulfill. That opens up. So let's say if we, like, when we succeed for these shows, the portfolio of that organizer opens up for us. So from 2 automatically becomes 15. So it's a clear path towards like really positive revenue, and to make sure that we can support an international team of like US as well as Europe. Hence, we're like trying to do a raise right now. Of course, the raise we're trying to do is a little bit more substantial. It's not just, oh yeah, we're trying to raise $100,000. Like, it's like we're trying to do let's say, $2.5 million raise, because we want to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place in Europe, in the US, the devices in place, the kind of all even the people in place, because once those events happen, growth is pretty quick at that point. And then the reason why we're doing it now is, yeah, we could probably do the next 2 events with our current kind of capital. But the folks that would join us at this point would be in a better position, because if we do those 2 events and we're like, okay, we have enough revenue, we're going to be customer led, we may not raise anymore. That's our mindset. But we're also looking for partners in this journey, not just, hey, I need your money. It's the, hey, like, this is who we are. This is what we bring to the table. There has to be something. Do you have a network, or do you have a network? Do you have a better understanding of marketing? Do you have something else besides your money that can help us grow faster than we would ourselves? And so that's like where we're at from a fundraising perspective. And it makes, at least to me, it makes it more realistic. Right, because we don't want to, like, I didn't want to be a startup that said, hey, okay, I have this great idea, give me money so I can build it. Or I built a great startup, give me money so I can start selling it. We're at the point where we built it for the last couple of years. We've talked to so many people. We've identified where like our solution actually helps. We've engaged with trade organizers that want our solutions, that's bringing our solution into their events. We can do it ourselves. But if you come in now, when we have all of these things going on for us, we can do it faster.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I even had another conversation today with a consultant, a trade show consultant that's been working in the MENA, the like Middle East, Dubai, similar to Vegas. They have trade shows pretty much every month. Like I said, with capital, We don't have to just do US, Europe. We can do US, Europe, Middle East, and scale and expand. And what's great is because nobody is doing what we're doing. Nobody is giving context to these types of conversations. We are first to market with learnings from multiple conversations, with learnings from things, how it works in the virtual space. When we're taking all of those learnings and putting it into a in-person interactions.
That makes it hard. Like that whole conversation about the valuation, all of this reminds me quite a lot of movie pitches. That
Yeah.
cliche where they say it's just like Star Wars, but it's on a boat. Like they're associating with something super successful and describing it as a twist, which anchors it nicely in somebody's mind.
Yeah.
But there isn't really, you can't just say this is when Salesforce was 1 year old, they were this, and we're going to be this, because you're a very different animal than that company.
Yeah. We're not different animal. We're not a pure CRM. We don't have the same people. Of course.
I just picked that name out of a hat, but that's,
Yeah.
when you're really something that's different, it makes it hard for people to understand where you fit in terms of evaluation, I imagine.
Exactly. And that's why like valuation, even market sizing, right? It's almost like it's all guesses at this point when you're so early stage. And sometimes I hear pitches like, oh yeah, we're in a $1 trillion market. Are you really in a $1 trillion market? I even said that myself, like in my earlier thing. I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a $1 trillion market. But the more I think about it, am I really in a $1 trillion market? Is this really a $1 trillion market? And it's all assumption. And there's that wish or need like to have such a big number just to make it accurate. But like I would love to hear the thoughts of VCs like when they see, oh, this is like a $800 billion like addressable market. Like what are the angels? What are the VCs thinking? Do they actually believe?
You're crediting to throw around big numbers that haven't got a real thought behind them.
Yeah.
And they say this is $1 trillion. And if we just get 10%, like some of those, you hear those things so often, they become cliches.
Yeah. That's like process. Like and I've learned like that, to be honest, I was one of those people because that's how you're taught, right? That's how like all the decks that you see is almost like that. You go online to try to understand as a founder, you don't know everything. Like when you're putting your deck together in your market slide, like that's how it's all calculated. And especially if you have a small team with, you don't really necessarily have capital to engage with like these other finance, like CFOs or whatnot, fractional finance people but even then it's still a guess. And even with with all that data, it's still a guess.
Speaking of that, you and I both really enjoy building the things that we create. And I guess that mindset, building is never finished. No project is ever really, there's always something more you could be doing. How did you decide what was a minimum viable product to bring to market and stop yourself from the 10 more things you might want to do?
That's definitely a great question. And I think I take from my product experience because I've been building product for a long time, that the mindset I've always had is the best feedback is real feedback from your app or your product to be in front of users, regardless if it's perfect or not. So even if it's incomplete, even if like it doesn't have all the features or functions, just release it. And I'm actually a bigger proponent of releasing a semi-working product as long as it's actually something that people can touch and feel and engage with instead of just a screenshot. There's some people like, oh, what's your MVP? Or my MVP could be like a couple Figma slides and like a click dummy. And I can get feedback from that. That's great. But you can get UI feedback. Yes, perfect. But there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and and then part of the things that can go wrong is how people actually use your product, how people are actually going to consume the information, because you can make a perfect picture on Figma. But once real data actually goes into your platform, when once data actually like breaks whatever it is that needs to be broken, and people actually interacting with your app, that's when real feedback actually one of the most humbling experiences for me. And this is when I was launching Claritiv to be a productivity tool. It can help you be better. It can help you. This is when we were still a product management tool. And I was showcasing, it's like I have it, I was showcasing the product to a CPO, head of product. And she was like, this is helping me. This is actually making my job a lot harder. And that was very painful. It was very painful to take, but it was very valuable because in the end, she was right. Like how our assumptions have always, okay, as long as it's here and we have all of these data, it is going to be great. But not everybody thinks like me. Not everybody consumes information like me. Other people consume information differently. And you're never going to get that unless you have real data on your app and it's actually in front of people that you want to serve. I guess that's along with this, your minimum viable product is to be able to test something that's working and just pushing it live. And it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to have all the bells and whistles, but it will at least solve like one problem that you're trying to solve.
Love it. I want to move to some recommendations. First, is there a book that you recommend or that you've given most often as a gift?
I do. The one book that I always recommend, and it's probably reflected on the things I say a little bit, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Like every team I had, okay, book recommendations, Atomic Habits, James Clear. That really lived that mindset of identifying something that I can change every day, that I can be better at, and not, as I mentioned, I not strive for perfection because you're never gonna be perfect. So I have to at least have something and then figure, okay, this is a way that I can improve, and then work at that. So there's that, those little things, those small improvements can be done every day, every hour, every whatever.
That's a great one. We have a series of Las Vegas questions for you.
Or Las
okay.
Vegas questions.
All right. First is remind us exactly when you got to Vegas and how is it different today than what you first experienced?
I first got to Vegas from, I think I mentioned a little bit, like from Germany, July, I think it was 2020. So right in the smack dab middle of COVID. It was, and I guess that the main thing is like how it was back then to how it is now is like back then I could walk the strip and it would be empty. And because everything was closed. Oh, Vegas was open, but a lot of places were closed. And yeah, like it's definitely changed quite a lot, even just these last 5 years. The Sphere wasn't even like open at that time. I think it's the Tropicana was still here or still alive. Yeah, quite a few. There's some restaurants that like we used to go to at that time that's not here anymore, of course, because of COVID. But I think there's also, it's almost like shift for, and I think this is what I wish for Vegas, right? It's a shift to something else beyond hospitality. And that's a shift to maybe more like open and engaging to actual tech startups like us, and not just startups that are serving the hospitality and casino industries and things like that, or sports in that regard. So what else? Yeah, but there's quite a few things and it's so funny because when I first moved to Vegas, I never really realized how much I would enjoy living in Vegas. I've lived in LA, lived in San Francisco, lived in London, lived in Asia, Houston, of course, Germany. But the one thing I appreciate, and this is what I tell people about Vegas, is that has the big city amenities in a kind of like destination small town feel. Because I can still go towards the other side of town within maybe 30 minutes max. And I can't say that like living in LA, living in Houston doesn't happen. But what I like about on the other side, like when I was in Germany, I lived in this very small town south of Germany by the Lake of Constance called Friedrichshafen. It had 60,000 people. So if I meet you, if I want, let's say, some good, I don't know, ramen or whatever, right? So we'd have to either travel to Zurich or Stuttgart just to get a good bowl of ramen. Whereas here in Vegas, it's like food is probably one of the top food places in the world. I would definitely put it up there to LA, New York, Houston, London, Tokyo, or whatever.
There's a food question. You've queued it up. What is your favorite meal in Las Vegas?
That's hard. And it's hard because there's so much great food in Las Vegas. So I guess I would have to categorize it for right now. And it changes too. It changes over time. Because when I first moved to Vegas, let's say like dim sum, right? Like Chinese dim sum. Like my favorites, and it's still good at that. Like when we first moved, was this place called Yum Cha in Dakota. And I think Dakota, Tropicana, somewhere around there. Decatur, not Dakota. Decatur and Tropicana. And then like that evolved, and I say it's still like to Asia barbecue and Spring Mountain. And then now it evolved to this, we call it the Purple Restaurant because it's just forgot the name, but it's just the Purple Restaurant. It's actually right next to you. So those are, but let's say for steak, the favorite place that I've actually been that I really enjoyed is it Scott Prime in the Palm? Is it Scott's? I know there's other ones as well that we haven't been to. The one that I think you mentioned that I want to actually check out is the one by Sahara.
The Golden Steer?
Not the Golden Steer, the other one on like across the freeway.
The one I usually talk about is the Triple George Grill, which is next to the museum.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The Golden Steer, it's okay. I like it.
It's just a landmark.
There's just so much food in Vegas. Like, best place to probably eat. I still like the kind of like the it's right on top of the no, I can't think of the casino with the
Strat.
The Strat.
That's a fun place to see in town.
Good, yeah. I've always liked that place just to eat. Like food, it was okay. It's not like the best. I mean, it's good, but it's a definitely good place to. Buffet wise, I'm still partial. Like there's two. Like my actually current favorite is probably the Wynn. I'm a big food, so I can go on forever just talking about food. The Wynn buffet to me is good. Korean, my favorite right now for Korean buffet, like just a price and the amount of food is Captain Six in Spring Mountain. And there's other ones that are probably better quality, but that's what I like that just from the
All right, I'm gonna move this along, but I'm gonna make you take me to some of your favorite spots because I'm hearing some names that I didn't know and I need to know.
For sure.
What is your favorite spot to view the city?
There's a place here in Henderson. It's right on Green Valley turns into Sunridge Parkway, right? Like right after, I think the church, St. Francis Church, there's a small park in that area. And then like on top of that park, there's a hill. And there's no chairs or anything like that. But if you go on that spot, you have this open view of Las Vegas. To me is one of the best places to look at the city. The other place that I like is if you go Lindell, Michoacan on, is it Horizon?
Carnegie and Horizon Ridge.
Probably from a restaurant perspective, also really nice place to view the city. I'll leave it at those two because I can, again, go on forever.
What are some of your favorite groups or organizations that help you connect with people in the Valley?
No, for sure. Like the very first group that helped me connect, and I think this is where we met, was Startup NV. I think that they're great. You've actually introduced me to the Tech Alley group. Was really great as well. So like that, I think those top three is Startup NV, Tech Alley, and Startup Vegas. They give or have put together really great events, at least for a tech founder to engage and connect with other tech startup folks here in the Valley.
All right. And our last question, if there's a phrase or a quote or idea that you could just share with millions of people, what would that be?
Again, I think this is probably going to age me. My favorite quote that I've always lived for a while is a song lyric from Public Enemy. It's "Don't Believe the Hype." And like I always think of that because it's the ability to question. It's the ability to like, okay, truly understand. And that's like how, like why Claritiv, just going back, made sense to me, because it's going deeper than just that surface level, like hype, to find the real context, the real intent of what's really out there. And I've lived that, and I really love that. I guess not so much of the quote, but that song lyric.
Love it. I will include your contact information and your company with the notes that go out with this. But I really want to thank you for a very engaging conversation. And I absolutely am rooting for you and Claritiv.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. And like I said, I'm sorry for like you start talking to me about food and I can go on for hours, but I really appreciate you for having me. It was a great conversation and I always enjoy our talks.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.